What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to the channel. This is Lone Wolf, and in this video, we're going to talk about the Venthyr Soulbinds and the synergies with the Hunter specs. Alright? So with that being said, let's get into it. Alright guys, so like I said, we're gonna talk about Venthyr and 9.1 changes with the conduits and all that jazz. Now, I do want to mention that sure, I understand that the meta is the meta, so whenever people start putting out guides and simulations of what's best or whatever, I know people are gonna tend to do all that stuff, but this video is more specifically about if you do pick the Venthyr, what can you do with it, right? What the synergies are with the specs of the Hunter class. And I understand that people also have fun outside of the meta. So let's start it off with Nadja, because Nadja is the first Soulbind in the Venthyr Covenant. I do have my renown at the max that we can. Nadja is still a very, very attractive Soulbind for the Hunter class, alright? In general, Nadja produces the most damage for all three specs, but we have to understand that the other two Soulbinds bring things that Nadja does not, alright? So what is Nadja? What is her last few conduits? So what does Nadja bring in 9.1? We got an extra potency. We got nimble steps, which is a very anti-melee, right? If a melee is on top of you, you slow them down for 10%, and being that the Hunter class in general have a higher movement speed, that 10% it might be substantial enough. And if you fall below 35% health, they get rooted, okay, which is also huge. And then we have Sinful Preservations, which is basically like a PvE type of thing. Health potions and health stones grant you an absorb shield equal to 50% of the amount healed for 20 seconds. Now, while I say that this is a very PvE focused conduit, if you do play with a warlock in your team in PvP, this might help you out, maybe even more so than able to slow down an enemy slightly and root them when you're under 35%. Okay, so keep that in mind. Obviously, you can't use health potions in PvP in arenas or rated content like that, so this won't work there unless you play with a Hellstone. We get endurance and finesse, and the bottom one, the last conduit, is Fatal Flaw. And Fatal Flaw to me is so awesome. It's so nice. When the haste effect of Euphoria ends, gain 10 seconds of either 20% increased critical strike chance or versatility, whichever you currently have more of. Now, what's so awesome with that is it just lengthens the time of your damage output when Thrill Seeker comes up. So Thrill Seeker lasts for 10 seconds, and then you get another 10 seconds of another secondary stat. And in PvP, we're gonna have a lot of versatility, and the more versatility you have, the better. And in PvE, you might have more crit than versatility. It all depends on what gear you have and your simulations or whatever. So whatever stat you have, that's what you get, 20% increase, which is huge. 20% versatility, 20% critical strike, no matter what content you're doing, is massive for the Hunter class. So that's very, very attractive. Though in PvP, Thrill Seeker, it takes a long time to ramp up. All right. So what specs do I see playing with Nadja? All of them. For PvE, you can choose all of them. All right. They all work out, though it does work better with Beast Mastery. Beast Mastery really shines with Nadja in both PvE. Now with the legendary, and I'll show you right now. Maybe I have it in my barracks. The legendary for the Venthyr Covenant is bonus kill shots from Flash Shot cost 6 targets within 8 yards to bleed for 35% of the damage dealt by kill shot over 6 seconds. The Venthyr Covenant, the Flash Shot, allows kill shot or makes kill shot the hardest hitting ability in the Hunter Toolkit, whatever you want to call it. This really shines in the Mythic Plus in PvE, so you don't have to worry about, oh man, I'm a Venthyr, I can't really do Mythic Plus. I feel like this helps you out. Now I don't necessarily think it's gonna be the be all to end all, but for Beast Mastery, where Beast Mastery really synergizes well in group like AoE, it really does good in that. Having this legendary while doing Mythic Plus is going to be very attractive. It's going to feel satisfying. Now, you're not going to have super burst, but you will have high sustained damage throughout the entire Mythic Plus, okay? Very nice, especially with the Fatal Flaw. It's just 20 seconds, 10 with haste, and 10 with another secondary stat, which is pretty cool. And then survival, it does really synergize well, especially with all that haste that you get. The only problem is with survival, it really works well in PvP over PvE. You definitely have better legendaries for survival. I don't necessarily think that the legendary for the Venthyr Covenant is gonna be the best for survival. Might be, but we'll see how it goes. But for single target, Nadja is awesome for survival. Okay? And for Mastership Hunters, while the rotation feels good, while the abilities do hit massively hard, you don't get so much value, though it does help, right? 20% haste for 10 seconds is valuable for Thrill Seeker. You really want stuff that makes you just hit harder, okay? And the more access to harder hitting conduits or synergies will help you better, because it takes a while for you to cast as a Mastership Hunter. You're just not going to get as much value. Survival and Beastmaster, you can just keep on with the global cooldown and you're going to be always good. But with Mastership Hunters, it's different in that your abilities are casted. Your Rapid Fire is casted, your Aim Shot is casted, and they're set up in AoE. Keep that in mind. It does wonders for Beast Mastery, wonders for survival, with Mastership Hunter being okay. Theotar is next. Theotar is interesting. Theotar has the party favors. The last ability was redesigned recently to where it gives you go to Theotar in the Covenant and he gives you a potion, you drink it, and you get either haste, versatility, crits, or agility for 4 hours, and it persists through death. So for a bulk amount of time that you play the game, you get this buff. Before it was an hour and it took a day, which was completely absurd. So this is pretty cool. I really enjoy it. Well, it doesn't say that it has a cooldown anymore, so you might be able to go over there and just use it, and when it runs out you can just use it again. We'll have to check up on that. We also get It's Always a Tea Time. When Soothing Shade activates, Tubbins and Gubbins each offer you a cup of tea, healing you for 332 health every 1 second, and reduce your damage when you're in that shade. Alright, so when Soothing Shade comes out, which is Tubbins and Gubbins, they're just holding a little parasol or whatever. They're just there, and it's like a little dark area. And if you stand in it, you get these perks on top of the mastery. And it's a lot of mastery. Alright, and it lasts a good amount of time. And then you also get Wasteland Propriety. Now, the one thing I don't like about Wasteland Propriety is the length of time that it lasts. Considering your Flayed Mark is on the 30-second cooldown, you get it for 5 seconds, and then that's it. That's 2 abilities for Monstership Hunters, and probably 3, 4.5 for Survival and Beast Mastery, depending on your haste. Global cooldowns within the 5 seconds. It's still kind of whatever, but you can always forego that and go the Potency Conduit. Then the other counter here we have is life is but an appetizer while you are well fed, gain 60 speed and 60 avoidance. Not too amazing, though the speed does feel good. If this was 60 leech, I think it would be much more attractive. It is what it is. I'm never gonna pick that shit. Not interested. Theotar is, depending on your gear, it is your second best, or depending on your gear, it might be your first best. All right. I do find that because Soothing Shade is in a fixed area that it procs, and it procs randomly, there is no telling when it comes to just the PPM, and that Hunter class in general is a very mobile class, you will lose out on it in PvE and PvP. There will be plenty of occasion. This goes for most specs, but imagine if you were melee and you're just hitting the boss and you really don't have to move the boss. Getting all this mastery is gonna help you. And in PvP, you're always kiting as a hunter. So while this does sound attractive, especially with it's always tea time, the notion that you might not be able to stay in that shaded area is not too attractive. Okay, because probably half the time you will lose out on all that juicy mastery. Doesn't matter what spec you are. Okay, you might get more benefit as beast mastery, because beast mastery you can slow down people or stop them, stun them, and you're able to stand in the spot much more than a marksmanship hunter and a survival hunter. This might be much more attractive to beast mastery. And for PvE, you will get just a tad more access to it depending on the mechanics and depending on the fight. Theotar is not bad, but he's not the greatest, okay? Overall, he will be the second best. Now, General Draven is a very strong soulbind. General Draven gives you damage and he gives you defensive, where you take less damage, okay? I consider him a PvP soulbind. You take reduced damage here, and then your new thing is while below 50% health, Door Shadows cool down 50% faster, and any overhealing done to you will heal for an additional 15% of the overhealing amount over 6 seconds. So if you're playing against like a Affliction War, if you're playing against an Affliction Warlock and you're playing with a healer, this might help you out while you're kiting, okay? Because you might get topped off, but the Warlock still have dots on you, or the Balanced Druid, and being that you're kiting, all that overhealing can get repeated even as your health is going down. All right, and then lastly, we have the battlefield presence. Each nearby enemy trembles at your presence, increasing your damage and healing done by 1%, and reducing damage taken by 1%, up to a maximum of 3 enemies. So basically, you get 3%, or at max value, 3% extra damage, 3% extra healing, and you get 3% reduced in damage. All right, so you get this. You get built for war. While you're above 80%, you gain 1% agility every 3 seconds, and that stays up. This stays up at all times, and when you fall below 50%, it is lost. But it is still pretty powerful. Every 3 seconds, like if you lose it and you go above 50%, in 9 seconds, you'll have the maximum again. Okay, so very, very attractive. General Draven is so nice on different things. Another thing that he has that's pretty cool is move as one. You can go Enduring Gloom, but having an endurance and move as one is pretty good, because even with your pet, and I'll show you right now, like say my pet uses dash, I get also 30% increase in speed. Okay, so General Draven is just very, very attractive in PvP, in my opinion. Way more tanky. You are dealing more damage as in your abilities, not in procs or whatever. You just get a solid damage increase as long as you're playing above 50% health. and you always have the 10% when you're 40 below. You have this, and you have this as well. I like it. I like it. General Draven, in my opinion, is a PvP Soulbind. And PvE, you're not gonna find too much value unless it's a fight that you take, like you're progressing and you're taking a lot of damage, and you just need that extra survivability over damage. I think General Draven might be a go for that. For survival, General Draven is crazy good. Okay, because survival, you're, like I said before, you're always moving in and out of the fight because you're melee. Beast Mastery, it is helpful because you're just more tanky than usual. That's always good. And for Mastership Hunters, while I think Mastership Hunters, the best thing about this is Service in Stone, and your move is one. Obviously, Battlefield Presence, you lose out on it because you're trying to kite away from people. So overall, SV the best, Beast Mastery second, and Marksmanship Hunter third. Okay, so let's do a quick summary. Nadja, good for PvE, good for PvP. Beast Mastery is gonna it synergizes very well with Nadja. Survival second, and then Marksmanship Hunter third. Okay. Theotar depends on your gear, depends on the mechanic of the fight. Is good for PvE, with not that much PvP value, considering a lot of the conduits is based off of Soothing Shade. And then General Draven is just very, very good if you're just starting out. You just hit 60 and you like the Venthyr Covenant. You're leveling, you're progressing. Once you get a better understanding of your spec and your class, you can move to another Soulbind. And PvP, awesome for survival. Beast Mastery, with not so good with Marksmanship Hunter. All right, so with that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Definitely give it a like. Definitely share if to anybody who you think would gain value out of this, and subscribe for more videos. All right. With that being said, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.